Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and the wider diaspora, wherever you are watching us this morning. Welcome to Pep Talks in the Morning. Today's Thursday, the 7th of May, just 11 more days until my birthday. Yes, I told you would be getting regular updates on that, and I have avoided spamming you with that information. But just so you know, May the 18th, May the 18th, May the 18th. Joining me on Pep Talks this morning is Mr. Minov. Gosh, please pronounce your last name after I introduce you. Minov is a consultant and project manager. Good morning, Minov.
Good morning, Felicia. My last name is the same crazy pronounce as my first name. It is Meyer, but not important. Minus
Minov
is very
Meyer.
fantastic. Forget it. Minus is
So
enough.
we'll just be calling you Minov for the rest of the show. Good morning, Minov. How are you doing this morning? Well,
I'm doing
afternoon
fine.
by
Hello,
you, right?
Felicia, and yeah, good afternoon and good morning to all your viewers and listeners.
Minov is joining us from Germany. He is one of our most avid and supportive peppers. He's on the live video most mornings, at least when we're not buffering and sticking to come across on his feed. Hopefully, we're not going to experience that this morning, or at least not too much. Minov, like I said, is a consultant and project manager. He has spent some time here in Trinidad and Tobago and has had a chance to see, or at least get a taste of how our country works, how these systems are coming from a first world and progressive nation like Germany. He has and used to share some of his ideas with me on WhatsApp, his questions with regards to PEP policies, with regards to what the present administration is doing. And rather than just have this conversation with me only, I have invited him at least twice before and now for a third time to join us here on Pep Talks so we can have that discussion with the rest of the viewing public, the rest of Trinidad and Tobago as well. So, we have a couple things going on right now in Trinidad and Tobago, and I did want to kick off the discussion with Meinolf on the very hot topic of well, not looming, because we don't want to be accused of treason like the prime minister accused the opposition leader when she raised the question of accountability and transparency. We don't want to be accused of treason by raising this issue. But we here in the Progressive Empowerment Party, and like many other concerned citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, we're very well, we have questions about that sale of fuel to Venezuela through Aruba. And Meinhof and I were discussing this as a topic yesterday, in addition to some other issues we're going to raise here on the program this morning. It's going to be very interactive. I do have some questions for you, Meinhof, because you bring a particular slant that we here in Trinidad would not be fortunate to have, which is uh, Germany, a perspective from outside of this country. I mean, we have Canadian peppers, New York peppers, peppers from the UK as well. But it's very rare that we have somebody who would have experienced the systems of government like you would have in your time that you spent here. Before we go any further into this topic, please, I invite you to like the video, click share on your newsfeed, on your timelines, on your WhatsApp, on your Facebook Messenger, in your groups, and let everybody join us on the convo this morning. So we're talking the fear or the possibility of, excuse me, the U.S. Imposing sanctions. And before we opened the show this morning, Meinhof and I were discussing this a little bit, and he was giving me his take on the situation, which I invite you to share with the rest of the audience this morning. Mike, the floor is yours.
Well, this was it a sale? At least you have sold gasoline to whomever. The official papers probably say it was sold to Aruba. On my TV screen, I once saw a news headline running at the bottom of the screen saying that that the US are questioning the legality of a gasoline transport which may have been redirected to Venezuela, which may have been arranged to go to Venezuela or whatever. And I can understand that you in Trinidad are now a bit afraid and worried about being put under sanctions from the US, especially after the US anyway have sent already some of their warships into not your waters, but into the Southern Caribbean waters out of completely other different reasons to cut the drug stream from South America through the Caribbean into North America. So all this is perhaps not just really comfortable for TNT. Being afraid about sanctions from the US, I don't know whether you need to be afraid. This is certainly a topic, a matter the US may investigate internally. I think the US has plenty of other problems right now to solve. I'm pretty sure that Mr. Trump is more worried that he will, with the re-election in November again, in some cases, sometimes I'm asking myself, especially with regard to this gasoline shipment, is Trinidad not overestimating itself? Well, I think the drug transport ways through your country should more concern you. I'm not so sure that you really need to be worried. The internal political things in Trinidad, it would certainly be of interest to see whether you can find out more information, whether somebody has got dirty hands. I'm pretty sure you will not find dirty hands. There will be too many middlemen, too many people sent before the real big guys will be found. So this one shipment is not my major. It would not be my major concern if I would live in Trinidad. There would be other things more frightening, like the drug things, like the influx of other political waves into your country and so on. That's my personal opinion. It has been a topic here, a very short topic, but everything is overloaded right now, and I'm pretty sure in the US as well by COVID-19. The economic recovery of these countries and so on.
Indeed, and I mean, like you said, COVID-19 is the forefront topic right now for over 200 countries in the world that have been impacted by it. And while I think I share those sentiments, I'm not particularly convinced that the US may go as far as imposing sanctions. But you just said if we do an investigation, we may not uncover anything because there are too many middlemen. But don't you think that if we follow the cookie crumbs, we may just be led back to the gingerbread house? And I use this analogy because, not just because you're German and there's that whole story of Hansel and Gretel, which I'm sure you know, but there's also I use that analogy because prior to us having this becoming an issue, there was that other issue, and I raised it again on the show this week and a few weeks ago, of the visit from the Venezuelan vice president.
This
Two
is
days
much more.
after.
This is much more important, and this even made excuse me, made even more headline over here, that a vice president who is under sanction and a ban to travel even under EU sanction, under EU ban to travel, could travel without any problems to Trinidad, although your borders are closed. This was even a larger story. Larger story, come on. What is a large story right now besides COVID-19? But this was, well, over 2, 3, 4, 5 days, even in the news over here, whereby the shipment was just 1 day and finished. But that a politician that is under travel ban, can travel and is welcomed. This is much more important, and that would frighten me as Trini much more. Sorry, the world is doing video conferences and doing everything via Zoom, via Skype, via whatever, and they needed to have a personal discussion, and it was said about COVID-19. Come on. I'm a believer, yes, but you cannot tell me such a story. I don't believe that. I don't know whether Felicia is still there. At least on my side, she is very nice. But well, this is more of concern than anything else. It would be more of interest for me, perhaps for anybody else as well, to know what really went on during this meeting and how that could happen. You don't take your own people back home from Barbados, you don't take your own people back home from Suriname and from anywhere, but a person under a travel ban from a large number of countries in the world is allowed to travel into Trinidad and Tobago without problems. Interesting. I can see you moving again.
Yes, I'm moving again, and I was disconnected. I don't know if you realize, but just give me a summary of what's the last thing you said. I heard interesting, and I know that what we're discussing is interesting this morning.
I as Trini would be more frightened and worried about what really happened during this meeting between your Prime Minister and the Vice President of Venezuela. How could this person travel to Trinidad? How could she be welcome? Your borders were closed. Your airport was closed. You don't take your people from Barbados back. You don't, with big obstacles. I think there are still people in Suriname, or are they back now? But this person could travel without any problems. Wow, interesting. She's under ban of EU, under ban of US. That's more interesting to see what comes out of that. You will never find anything again. Come on. This is
well, Minov, that is why I think that is why this this whole issue of the gas, the fuel shipment using deceit and subterfuge is why many of us are so concerned, because prior, and I was mentioning this before I got disconnected, prior to all of this happening, we had her visit here, which was shrouded in secrecy. I mean, we claimed it was to discuss COVID-19, but Michelle Davis asked on the show on Monday, how come out of all the countries in the world, how come out of everybody, how come of all the CARICOM islands, all the United Nations, how come we chose Venezuela to have that discussion with? What was it about the Venezuelan vice president that warranted such an urgent discussion, that warranted her taking 2 private jets and flying over here to Trinidad and Tobago to meet with our Prime Minister behind closed doors to discuss
what was it? What was in the second jet? Her luggage?
Well, obviously not the citizens stuck in Margarita over there, which something I didn't understand, because a week later she was on a video conference pleading with the Trinidad and Tobago government to deal or to assist the Trinbagonians who were stuck over in Venezuela. And many people were asking the questions, why didn't she fit them in her second plane or in her overhead luggage when she was coming? And I mean, all of these things raises a lot of questions, and that the Prime Minister would accuse people of treason well, he accused the opposition leader in particular, but that he would raise that question as an answer to us asking these questions is concerning, to say the least. And I mean, we discuss these things here on the show because we want people to understand that the things that we demand of the government, such as transparency and accountability, these aren't. This is what we deserve. This is what we are entitled to as citizens. This is not a dictatorial state. This is not a. This is a democracy, and in a democracy, the people.
Are you sure you are not a dictatorial state? Are you sure you're still a democracy?
We are. I would say we're a democracy on paper because more and
Ah,
more we are seeing this particular administration, Meinolf, try to write and insert laws into the law books that seem to very they seem to be trying to chip away at that democracy that we hold as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Every time the Attorney General brings a law into Parliament, there always seems to be some kind of hidden clause in it that can or seems to want to be able to take away the rights of citizens, the right for depending on how you interpret and word the law, you can literally be putting and imposing strict rules on something as simple as a political party. And I remember there was one particular law that they tried to bring into Parliament back in 2017. I mentioned it on Monday, or was it Tuesday, and I was supposed to go and look for it, but I know the cybercrime bill is one such law where they can take your information. The bill that they were just trying to pilot in prior to COVID-19, which would have allowed them to spy on your phone and tap into your phone records and stuff like that. I mean, they try to camouflage all of this as being for the well-being of the citizens and dealing with crime, and when they wanted to
should I
use
call
it
you?
to.
Should I call you Little China now?
Well, we seem to want to be making a lot of deals with China, so I don't know if we've picked up some of their bad ways with regards to that. But the thing is, don't mind of the average Trinbagonian is not very aware of what is happening in terms of their rights being chipped away. In terms of many people with this whole Venezuelan vice president coming over and the fact that we may have been secretly shipping fuel to them, some people aren't aware of not just what the implications could be, because you and I agree that we don't think that the US is going to impose sanctions on us. But not just that, the implications of dealing with a government that is a known they Maduro is a well-known how would you call him in terms of human rights in Venezuela right now? You choose. You have a nice way with words, seeing as you're from Germany, and you just pick the choice English translation.
I would have a word for that, but I'm not brave enough to say it here on air. He belongs into the same. He belongs into the same group of people like the guy from North Korea, like probably the people in Iran. I don't mention any names, and maybe perhaps even like the big boss in China. Who knows? But I think the ball is getting round and round and round and more round when you see now the connection between China and Trinidad and China and Venezuela and Trinidad. Did never the question came up, are you still master of your own disaster, or do you need to act already because somebody else has influence on you? Come on. You have so many Chinese projects. You had so many Chinese projects. Well, let me be careful with my wordings, but are you still really master of disaster, of your own fate, of your own future? I'm having my doubts. Come on. Can you still decide what you want to decide? I once traveled into another Caribbean country, and when I was there was some kind of decision which needed to be taken in the United Nations. And the whole population was going into one direction. I cannot remember and recall anymore what it was, but all the people in that country were the opinion it needs to be, let's say, B. And the head of the state in the UN decided and voted for A. And the immediate reaction of the people was, well, come on, if we wouldn't decide to go for A, the Chinese would kill us. They would immediately stop investment. They would immediately do this. They would immediately do that. Are you still master of your own disaster?
Well, there is we joke about it and we say, I mean, when there was the erection of the Chinatown sign in downtown Port of Spain, it caused an uproar from people. There was a real uproar about it because many people were wondering, you know, for what's happening here. Charlotte Street has been a well-known street in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of, even to you, who was just here for approximately a year and a half, it's a well-known landmark in Trinidad and Tobago, in Port of Spain. If you don't know Charlotte Street, then you're probably not really Trinbagonian. And when that happened, there was a lot of questions and confusion surrounding it. Again, many things are done that in this country that is shrouded in secrecy. You're not even sure why it's being done. It just came out of nowhere. And I mean, we joke about it and we say that China has bought Trinidad, or China now owns Trinidad, and you see all of these documentaries and well, I guess articles from around the world that talks about China slowly owning different countries, whether they take over their ports. And one of the ways that they are rumored to be, you know, taking control of these countries is through giving them exorbitant loans that they know that that country would never be able to repay. We have right now, in terms of our debt, our national debt, and specifically our debt to China. Someone was telling me, I can't remember, I believe it was one of those economists, I can't remember if it was Patrick Watson or someone else, but he was mentioning Ovid theorem. I can't remember. They were mentioning the fact that we have loans as a country that our children and our children's children and our children may probably never be able to repay. When you look at things like interest collecting over years, when you look at the fact that our economy has yet to diversify away from oil and gas. I mean, you were asking me before the show, and the way you ask things sometimes, it almost comes across very sarcastically, but you ask the question, do you in Trinidad and Tobago still believe that oil and gas is going to be the savior of the country? You didn't ask it like that, I'm paraphrasing, but you basically asked the question that all of us who are looking at what is happening in the fuel and the energy industry right now are asking. We have another plant within the past 4 months. I'm reading this article here, crisis in the petrochemical sector, and it's talking about, it's a lead economist talking about the fact that we've had four of the largest, four shutdowns in the petrochemical sector in the past 4 months, which, I mean, if you look at the size of Trinidad and Tobago and the population and the number of people that would put on the breadline, and this is not even counting Petrochem. If you look at that, those statistics, you'd realize that it really spells trouble for us here in Trinidad and Tobago. And go ahead.
Exactly, I fully agree. What I'm surprised is that your economists didn't see it, don't see it, don't want to see it still. Excuse me, this crisis is not coming since yesterday. This crisis is not coming since last year. The world is moving away from oil and gas. The gas, oil definitely. Gas will follow soon. The world is moving away from that. Renewable energy is this big nice word, and we have to do a lot on that. The whole world has to do a lot on that. Why did Trinidad not try? How often did I hear this word diversify? Does Trinidad at all know what diversify means? It is. I'm very sorry. You will put thousands of people more onto the breadline. When I say you, I always mean Trinidad and Tobago, and nobody personally. But there will be plenty people more on the breadline because this oil and gas industry is going down. Consider now even COVID-19. Who does still need oil and gas right now? The stores are full worldwide. Nobody needs oil. They're using tankers to store it on the oceans. How stupid is that? And Trinidad and Tobago is still building on oil and gas? Come on. How stupid can you be? The future is, whether it's electric cars, I don't know. Whether it's other cars, who knows? Will there be cars in the future be the major transport vehicle at all? Will we change? COVID-19 will change not everything, will change a lot, but COVID-19 will give us a chance to change perhaps a bit faster. And COVID-19 is perhaps a unique chance for your country, for TNT, to change fast now, if you do it right. But you have a fantastic team of people, 2022 or whatever. Should I say forward thinking or backward thinking? People who are preparing your road to recovery. Come on, this is backward thinking. Don't build on oil and gas anymore. This is technology of yesterday.
They're saying that the future is renewable, and we've known that for a while. We've been talking of wind farms in Toko. Instead of wind farms, we're about to build a port. For what
you talk. Where is your wind farm? Seriously, I have been around in Trinidad really a lot. I had the chance, and I really was honored to meet fantastic people who drove me around, who showed me your country, who let me live with them even if I didn't want to do that. I have been in their homes, in brackets, normal Trinis, not the big guys with the big cars. So when you talk to these people, they have recognized this already. The people in the streets are perhaps better and more informed, or more, and I don't want to use this word critical thinkers, but they are more thinking about this problem than perhaps the big guys are doing, because the big guys are still earning a hell of money with it and sucking your people out. My opinion.
I have to ask this question because you reminded me again that you've been here. You live in Germany right now, but I know you have a special place in your heart for Trinidad and Tobago. You're probably more up to date on what is happening here than some of us are. You're asking questions that some Trinbagonians have never even considered. And while you have the opportunity of living in a first world country, you seem very much concerned about what happens here in Trinidad and Tobago. You've told me you've been to over 70 countries in the world. I'm not sure if you are as invested in those other 69 countries as you seem to be in Trinidad and Tobago, but there's a clear, I would say there's a clear fondness that you hold for us here in Trinidad, just based on the fact that you're here this morning. And my question to you is, how does it feel having been here, having gone back to your home country? How does it feel looking in or looking back on what is happening and transpiring right now in this country?
Okay, let me perhaps, excuse me, explain a bit. Yes, I have been in plenty of countries. I have connected friends over the world. And when I say friends, I don't talk about friends like other people. I have 2,000 friends on Facebook. When I'm talking about friends, I mean real friends. And is it a handful of people? Let me say perhaps yes. And these people are spread over the world. I'm caring about these people. Did I invest so much into other countries? Did I need to invest? What do I invest? I invest my time, I invest my knowledge, I invest my interest. No. But there are 3, 4 people in this world, whatever will happen, if they call me at 10 o'clock in the night and tell me, Meinolf, I need your help, can you come? Believe me, within the next 24 hours, I'm sitting in a plane. One of these persons is living in Australia. I know this person since over 20 years. I'm guilty for many things which he did in his life, and he is guilty for many things which I did in my life. If he has a problem, I will go. The other one is sitting in Singapore. An old man. I always call him uncle. He is meanwhile over close to 90, I would say. He brought me, he taught me plenty of things in my business. And he taught me a lot about the world. 2 people are in Trinidad. I think one of my friends you have got to know personally,
Yes.
even. If he will call me and say, hey, whatever happens, we are communicating our problems forward and backward and our families, blah, blah, blah. And if he would call me and say, I'm really needing you here, I really need you here, believe me, I would come. Your borders can be closed, I will find a way. It sounds stupid, but you know what I mean. Coming back to the point, when I'm coming to Trinidad and Tobago, just one more thing. When I traveled the first time to Australia, I said, wow, that would be a place where I would like to retire. When I came the first time into the Caribbean, this was the Northern Caribbean, Dominican Republic and so on. They speak Spanish, I don't understand Spanish. When I came to the Southern Caribbean where they speak English and came into Trinidad and came into Tobago, I said, this country is, how should I say, fascinating. You have everything to be heaven on earth. You don't know that you are heaven on earth. You destroy heaven on earth. You don't know that you destroy it. You don't want to know. You let your heaven on earth be destroyed by a smaller group of people. I had the honor to be many times in Trinidad. I had sessions, 2 weeks in Trinidad, 1 week at home, 3 weeks in Trinidad, 1 week at home, 4 weeks in Trinidad, 1 week at home. There were reasons for that I needed to go home. I have my business here. I need to do documents and papers and blah and blah. And I went back to Trinidad. On the weekends, I was driven around. I was private guest in these other families and so on. You are God. You don't know what kind of heaven you are living in, and you destroy it. So what do I think when I've been in Trinidad and go back to Europe and to Germany? Yeah, how should I say that? From whatever corner of the world I'm traveling home, you can knock me with a hammer. I will, after 20 minutes landing in Germany, I will tell you I'm back in Germany. Because in Germany, everything is so organized, probably over-organized sometimes. In Trinidad, it's so nice, laid back. Too much laid back, probably, yes. The people are friendly. Over here, I don't say we are not friendly. We are different. The people in Trinidad are friendly. And now you don't take it personally. Now you, the Trinis, may come back the race problem and blacks and Indians and Syrians. Come on. I was once sitting in the harbor in Sydney, in Australia, and thought, wow, this is a place. The mixture in the faces of this people, I have never seen that again. You had Asians, you had Europeans, you had Italians, Greece, you had. When you come to Trinidad, you will see the same. You have blacks, you have Indians, you have whites, you have Creoles, you have everything. Sometimes in even one phase, this is a proof for me that in your heart you should all be Trinis. Why the hell you let divide yourself? Come on, whether you are black, yellow, green, whatever, I don't care. I have seen one country in this world where there was, where I had the feeling, hey, why are these people so much divided in, and why are they following this race story so much? But I only have been traveled once there, and it is even far away than Trinidad and Tobago, far away from Germany. But I do not understand it in Trinidad. What are you doing? You are Trinis, you are Trinbagonians. Come on, people.
I feel the same way that you feel because exactly what you just said there. You go into Port of Spain right now. Maybe not right now because of COVID shutdown, but on a regular day, you walk down Charlotte Street, you walk down Frederick Street, you walk across Independence Square, and you will see such a diverse mix of people that cohabitate, function, mingle, get married to each other. And exactly what you say, on paper, in theory, we should be an island or two islands, two sister islands that race and creed and how you look, how you speak should not be an issue, and you would think so. And in reality, it is not really an issue, except I don't want to say except, but mostly when it comes to our politics. As soon as politics is introduced, it's like a switch
Yeah,
flips.
everything is politics. So politics is in everything. You cannot divide it from your daily life. Whether you buy a piece of bread or whether you drive a car or whether you walk across the street, everything is politics. So the prices are involved by politics. The road is made by politics. There may be certain people be interested to make out of this politic a big game, match, story probably is the best word. Why do people not complain and say, hey, fuck you with your bloody shit story? I'm a Trini. I just had a question for you. I remember, Serena from England. And she once, I think, made the suggestion it would be interesting to talk about culture. Before we talk about culture, let me ask you, because you said this mixture in the face is important, saying blah, blah, blah. Do you have a common identity? What is a common identity of Trinis?
That is a great, really, really great question. And when you ask that, most people would say carnival, and that's because
Carnival!
it seems to be the only thing that unites us here in Trinidad and Tobago. There's a popular song from David Rudder, "How we vote is not how we party," and that is true. You can go a fete, you can go any carnival fete, you go to the club. The way we behave with each other then, when we're relaxed, when we're having fun, is different to how we behave when election times is coming around and we're fighting Black versus Indian, UNC versus PNM, the same divisive politics that we have known growing up as children and continue to perpetuate in our adult lives. But going back to your question, that is a good question. It's been asked thousands of times. What is the culture of Trinidad and Tobago? And the closest answer that you can get from anybody, if you had to do a poll, a survey across Facebook right now, people would tell you that we're a fetting country, we're a party country, we're very relaxed. We like carnival, we like to drink, we like to line. That is the understood culture of Trinidad and Tobago, but in terms of something that can unite us across all platforms, that has yet to be found as it is right now. It has no,
Are you
it's yet to
sure?
be found. Actually, the only thing so far I would say is the PEP, because we're talking one people under one flag. But I mean, again, that is still not a culture yet, and it's something that we would like to enforce. I would love to see Trinidad and Tobago, Trinbagonians, loving each other no matter what you look like, no matter which political party you support. But it's going to take a couple of years or time to undo all of the years of damage that we have heard and grown to understand. You're going to say something.
You see, and this is a strange thing how I came to the PEP. As I said, I had worked under the PP government, so I know UNC. I met several ministers of that era. I have worked, did jobs in your country. Under the current government, I met several of the ministers as well and shake hands with them because my jobs are always in a certain kind government jobs at the end. And I noticed when I was working under the PP government, everybody wanted to change. Everybody wanted to change. So I said, okay, cool. I have seen what was done under PP, and I said, it's a good idea. They need to change. I did never expect that the current government now would develop into that direction. You came out of the rain into a storm. And then somebody told me, hey, there are some other people coming up. Because I was always asking, where's the opposition? Come on, people. You need to have people on the street. You need to have other people shouting out what's going on wrong in this country. Media is a separate story. But I said, you cannot only have two parties. Where are the others? And somebody told me that there are some people, at that time you were in brackets brand new. And he said, these people, I say, hey, anything is anyway divided into colors here politically. Which color do these guys have? Yeah, they are orange. Orange, oh, cool. What are they doing? Who is it? Yeah, and then I started a bit to follow, to read about PEP and so on. And that is the reason I have read all your 21 policies. I do not agree with everything. I do not agree it's wrong. I do not agree 100% with everything. If I would agree with it 100%, it would be my party. I don't need to agree.
I'm going to invite you. I have to invite you and Philip to have a nice debate on those 21 policies, because I think you would have. I'd love to see the interaction between you two on that. But go ahead.
There are 2-3 things in where I would say, hey, Mr. Philip, you are on the woodway. I could explain that, but come on. If I'm happy with 18, I'm fantastic already. If I'm happy with 16, as long as it's a majority, please, people, open your eyes, read this, think about it. You cannot invent the wheel again. The wheel is invented, but you can and need to invent Trinidad again. And you cannot do it alone. You can only give a guideline, and I think your policy is a guideline for it. How this guideline is filled with life is depending, well, certainly on you, the party members, and is depending how you implement all these things. Because these things need some time, need some heart, need some blood to do it. Deep in the politics now. I didn't want to go that deep into that, but you need to change. And I think the only change I'm seeing right now in Trinidad is through PEP, through PEP. And this is why I came to you, or how I came to you, and why I followed you, and why I said, hey, I'm caring about my 1 or 2 friends in Trinidad. And I want that these people have a good life. And I followed it a bit. I don't need to follow my friend in Australia. They do it themselves. I don't need to follow what's going on in Singapore. They are doing it themselves. I've been in these places. It's always a bit of up and down. What I only see in Trinidad is only down, down, down. You are going down since 50 years.
And that is so sad to hear. I mean, We live it and we experience it. And for those of us who are aware, those of us who are in tune to what is happening both socially and politically, it is really frightening to see us go down, like you're saying, but to hear it from somebody on the outside, somebody who has clearly interest in the well-being of not just Trinbagonians, but your friends here in Trinidad and Tobago. I can't imagine, and it's why I asked the question earlier, I can't imagine how it feels for you to be looking in from the outside and just seeing us go downhill. And but what is also frustrating for me and frustrating for many of us who live the reality of us going downhill is that not a lot of people seem to understand and realize that we're going downhill. Those who realize that we're going downhill, they're in denial that we're going downhill. And I'm wondering, what is it going to take for people to realize that they are literally at the bottom, looking up and seeing that there is almost no way to go? I mean, there's still hope right now. There's still hope building a society that can implement even 3 of the 21 policies that we have. And we say that if we can implement even 3, Trinidad and Tobago would have already surpassed where we have been in the past 10, 15 years. Just 3 of those policies alone can revolutionize Trinidad and Tobago. And do I think that it's going to be easy to just to implement all 21? No, it's going to take more than just infrastructural change and system change. It's going to take a cultural change, because like what you just said, what is the culture of Trinidad and Tobago? None of it deals or is rooted in a society that is forward thinking and wants to do better. The average Trinbagonian doesn't care. Once he, in his piece of the pie, have enough money to go and drink by the bar on Friday, line with his friends and fete on Saturday, cook curry duck by the river. Once he have enough money to cover his bills and his rent, he's not really thinking national and nation building. And we have in
But I
Trinidad
learned
and
one,
Tobago.
but I learned one thing. When all these people go and lime and so on and talk in the bars and would like to have a drink and a beer, they don't want to think about bad things. They want to think about good things. Drinking because of frustration is stupid. Drinking because you are happy is much, much better. And this is what the
I
Trees are
agree
looking
with
for.
you. And I love that you said that, actually, because when you look at the reasons behind why so many trainees get drunk and drink and feel the need to lime so much. And I listened to a man say it actually during COVID. The police had stopped him on Independence Square. He bought some beers and was sitting down liming. And he was saying, I know we're not supposed to be liming and out in public drinking, but, I guess a custom after a long, hard day, just coming and chilling on the promenade and sipping some beers with my partners and stuff, because that's just how things are. When you're working so hard, you're tired, you're frustrated. Many people turn to alcohol. There's one thing that if you drive wrong, and I don't know if you noticed this when you came to Trinidad, you can find in each community, sometimes next door to each other, sometimes across the road from each other, sometimes one street away from each other. There's always a bar in any community that you go to in Trinidad and Tobago. Whether it's a religious community, there is always a corner shop bar. And bars, apart from food, bars are some of the things that never ever see financial hardship and stuff like that, because people are constantly needing to drink, they're constantly needing to relax and
Yes, but they
de-stress
are
and,
not.
and, and bring.
But don't make. I hope you're not on the trip to make the fault to say they only go there to have drink. They only when I didn't know what liming means. I had to learn that when I came to Trinidad. And liming means interaction with other people as well. To sit alone on the table and have my beer and or the bar and whiskey or whatever is stupid, is boring. So it means interaction with other people. So how do you interact with other people? When you have something common to talk about, when you have something nice to talk about. I remember when I was on my project, we always, after that, in the evening, I took the cab full of people and we went to Area Peter Avenue. We had some wonderful beers, perhaps one or two beers too much for the evening, I don't know. But the people were happy. We had a common goal. We did a hard job during the day, and then we were outlining together. Fine, cool. And we all had one goal in front of us. We want to do this job. I made these people a bit hot. And it was always we were always in a good mood. So give the people something, well, which they can follow. A goal which they can follow. Right now there is nothing. They only hear again 1,000 people on the breadline and another 100 people on the breadline and How is the future looking? Where are you aiming to? Let me perhaps tell something very stupid. It's not, how should I say, creating a large economic advantage. Go into other countries, what they did. Countries that needed to bring people together into one direction, that they have something good to think and so on. They don't hang it now on money, but they're all invested in sports. This is my business anyway. So with sports, you can unite the people. I'm very sure you probably will agree with me. You were never more common and united in your country than 2005, 2006, when you were qualified for the World Championships of Germany.
Indeed,
so
and that is
something. Whether you were Indian, whether you were African, whether you were Syrian, whether you were blah, 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 you all had one thing: our team, the soccer boys, our team. So where are they now? You have other athletes. I remember Olympics. Wow, you had your swimmer, you had your cyclist, you had your track and fielders. Where are they gone? Where is your support for them? You were at this talk, or Philip at the talk with Atto. Come on, your sports is destroyed. Right now people say, what should we do with stadia? Manage them properly. You have invested a lot of money there. When I came back 2 years after I have done my job, I said, God, I'm having tears in my eyes when I see what you did with it. Because you didn't do anything with it. You destroyed, it was destroyed, no maintenance. You put carnival in, you put nails into synthetic surfaces. Hello, for what did I do this job here? I could have just painted it red and told you, fine, that's it, taken my money and gone. That's not my attitude, I'm not working like that. Manage this a bit more professionally. Hey, you had these people who have brought back the medals. Where are they today? Why is Atto not in Trinidad? He told you why. Because backward-thinking people, excuse me, former sportsmen are not necessarily good managers. May I be very serious? Not only Atto has a stadium in Trinidad. Atto is far away. His stadium looks crazy. The stadium which is named after him. It's not his stadium. But there's another guy who even did win a gold medal, the first gold medal for Trinidad. He should be ashamed. He is one of the members of the federation. He should be ashamed that he's still putting his name behind that stadium. I met him personally. He didn't even want to talk to me. I was not on his level because I was not looking like a big manager. When I'm doing my job, I'm looking crazy. But excuse me, this guy has no clue what he's talking about. He was just a fast runner in 1976, and this is 50 years ago, nearly. Hey, he's an old man, he's retired. You have to think forward. Atto is also 40-something. Hey, but he's looking forward. Where are your forward thinkers?
Our forward thinkers are, besides the Progressive Empowerment Party, they are the people who have been on the sidelines screaming exactly what you are screaming in different ways, talking about Trinidad and Tobago, not just for now and in the present, which we seem to constantly be living in, but in the future, in terms of posterity, in terms of 5, 10, 20 years ago. Many people right now, if you can ask them, what do they think Trinidad and Tobago in 5 years would look like, they can't answer you. If you ask them, what do you think Trinidad in 10 years would look like, they can't answer you. But these are questions that we should have been thinking about 20 years ago. And I heard about Vision 2020. I grew up as a child of this nation. I grew up hearing Vision 2020, and it seemed to be such a huge climatic point in the development and the progression of Trinidad and Tobago. And here we are in 2020, and it is anything but. It is probably the definition of anticlimactic when you think about where we are in relation to where I would have expected us to be as a nation that was so, when we were talking Vision 2020, we were oil rich, like up to our nose rich in oil money. And at the time when we were talking 2020, you had in your mind a country that would probably look and operate a little bit like America, because growing up in Trinidad and Tobago, first it was England. Many people used to migrate to England, and then closer to the 80s and early 90s, what you had was a wave of people leaving to go to the United States of America, because the UK and England was a little too cold for some people to stomach. So they would go to countries like Miami and Florida, and well, Miami's a city, but go to states like Florida and find different first world country, probably closer in temperature to Trinidad and Tobago, but had more opportunities than what you would see right now here in Trinidad and Tobago. And these people, these migrants, would send barrels back to their children, or they'll bring their children up or their grandchildren up to the States to spend holidays. When we finally got cable TV in the early 90s, you got to see firsthand what a country works, that looks like. You got to see through all of the commercials, all of the fast food chain restaurants. You got to see all of the insight into what Trinidad and Tobago could look like. And many people became obsessed with the idea when they thought Vision 2020. They became obsessed with the idea that we could be like a little America. We could be close to where America is. And I do think, well, along with that, many people didn't realize, or they were blinded, or they did not want to accept the fact that in order to be where America is, in order to be where England is, and all of these other countries like Germany and Australia and Singapore, like you're discussing, you have to actually put plans in to get there. It's not an overnight transition. You talked about our 21 policies. We understand that 21 policies would never be an overnight, can never be implemented overnight. And when we were speaking Vision 2020, it wasn't enough to just say we want a first world nation, but never put the ideas and the plans and the solution and the political will into making that happen. And as a result, we're here now.
Seriously,
and
this Vision 2020, and I think, in the meantime, you have already spoken about Vision 2030 and whatever. Whose vision was that? Was it the vision of the people? I don't think so. To be honest, before you continue, to be honest, and that is what I like on your policies, this 21. They are timeless. You don't need to put a year behind that. And this is a vision for your country, whether it's 2025, 2030, 2040, or even need to put a year behind that, because this is a vision you need to follow, a direction for your country. Please, please, spread this. How can you reach now the people to understand this? How can you get, in brackets, a voter base for it? A voter base, come on, who has taken part in elections anyway? This was only 2/3 of the country. Where's the other 1/3? This is a vision for, let me say, young people, for the first-time voters, and for the frustrated ones who still think, critical thinkers. Now I use that word. But the young people, where is their vision? If I can understand if you ask the young students right now coming from university, where do you see yourself in 5 years? They cannot answer. I personally could not answer that myself even if I would live there. I only know I would be 5 years older, because the rest is not in my hand. Even if I would do this X somewhere on a balance sheet, they do anyway what they want after that. So something else needs to be there. And these people who are, well, how should I say, visionless right now, in a certain way they are visionless. They are looking for something new, and a part of that is new, is, in my opinion, or can be, your 21 policies. Bring it over to them, make them aware. Question is only how, because the others will they take it over for you, for them? I don't know. I'm still wondering why not more young people, first-time voters, are coming out and say, hey, we are fed up with all these backward-thinking red and yellow people. We want to go a new way. I remember when this green movement came up over here.
I continue to say that many of them, because we have to go for a break as well, I'm continuing to say that many of them, they are fed up of things as they are. I spoke to a couple of young people from our youth alone. The feedback coming from the youths on the ground is that they are fed up. But what many of them are, I guess, concerned or afraid of is that as fed up as they are, nothing is going to change. And that is the kind of politics that we have created and inspired in young people, that it's always going to be red or yellow that you're picking, that you have to choose from. It's always going to be bacchanal politics. It's always going to be corruption. So from young, many of them are either aware of...
Excuse me, whether you're young or old, when it's raining outside, you know you get wet, and you take an umbrella. And if you don't have an umbrella, you take whatever to protect yourself. This is bullshit. If I can go outside and stay under a roof, I'm not getting wet. So I cannot only say it was always like that and whatever I do, it will not change. Sorry, then build a roof. And this young people who are just coming
on the same side. We are on the same side of the argument.
They should have it, excuse me, dynamite in their ass to build the roof. Where are they?
I'm not sure, but we are going to discuss this a little bit more in detail when we come back from this quick break. It's getting a little heated right now, and I think Meinhof and I have some trashing out of this issue to do as it pertains to where we are as Trinbagonians, and why aren't we taking more responsibility for where we are and where we think we should be. We'll be back after this very short break.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
On the average day in Trinidad and Tobago, upwards of 250,000 people spend between 3 and 5 hours in traffic on their way to Port of Spain to work in government offices, only to repeat the same insanity at the end of the working day. Entire generations have been raised in the back seats of cars, and people have been talking for decades about how do we solve this problem. We've known since the 80s that the solution to that traffic problem and all of our traffic problems is to decentralize all of those government offices out of Port of Spain. We could essentially have virtual offices where people could telecommute from the communities they live in to do the same jobs they spend 5 hours getting to a government office in Port of Spain for right now. Decentralization would save us billions of dollars in lost man hours. The Progressive Empowerment Party proposes to decentralize out of Port of Spain all government offices to a new government campus in the center of the island, equidistant from all corners. This would facilitate a shorter commute for most people and prevent everyone trying to get into and out of Port of Spain at the same time. Have you ever noticed that when schools are closed, the traffic is less? This is because so many of our people have the ridiculous situation of having to drop children in constituencies far-flung from where they live or work, or have multiples of children going to school in different constituencies, parents coming from San Fernando dropping children to school in Chaguanas, Arima, Port of Spain. The Progressive Empowerment Party proposes, among other things, an education system that assigns a GPA to each child that would allow for the continuous monitoring of performance, making every school potentially a prestige school and ending the need for choosing schools far-flung across the island, looking for the best opportunities for your child. If all our schools operate from under the same Ministry of Education, receive the same funding, are guided by the same syllabus and curriculum, how then do we explain some schools being prestige and others not? It is time to fix all of that, and fixing this and making it possible for children to go to school where they live will also end traffic. Between decentralizing and zoning of schools, all of that cross-island traffic that caused so much problems for so many would be gone. Isn't it time that we opted to operate this country more like a first world nation and less like a backwater banana republic? Why would we need to inflict so much misery on so many when the solution is so simple? Is it because friends and financiers of political parties own the buildings that the government offices operate in? Could it be something as heinous as that? Is it something that we could address and deal with from the position of putting the people of this country first and not the pockets and the profits of friends and family of those in office? It is time that we had a government in office that took the people's interest first, that recognized that the role and responsibility of government is the well-being and happiness of all the citizens of the country and not just a select few. We could fix all of this, including traffic and more. You have the opportunity now, you have the chance now to vote into office a government that can fix these problems, a government that is willing to face these problems, a government that's willing to come to you and discuss with you all of the issues that have us existing as a failed nation, a banana republic, a narco state, a hellhole. We could turn all of it around. Trinidad does have the capacity to be a beautiful place, a paradise, first world, one of the wealthiest nations in the world. But that won't happen if we continue business as usual and pretend that having upwards of 250,000 people drive across the island 3 to 5 hours morning and evening every day is anything that we need to continue. The country that we want is on the other side of our vote. The choices that we make now should develop and transform this country into a developed nation, a first world nation where we could all benefit. I am Philip Edward Alexander, and this has been a little more than 3 minutes to a better Trinidad and Tobago.
We're back.
Felicia?
And just to remind,
Felicia? I just
yes,
need to say that. I just need to say that. I listened to this ad from Philip just now. One sentence is very, very, very important. The country that we want is on the other side of our road. And this people need to understand.
definitely. And it's what we hear in the Progressive Empowerment Party are trying to get people to understand that it's not just about us and us here in the PP telling you to vote for us. It's about us telling you that it's time you make the decisions that you need to make in the best interest of the country that you want. It's not enough to come election time, say that I'm going to vote for the PNM because they gave me a jersey, or because my grandmother used to vote for the PNM and she said that it's sad that I need to continue the tradition. It is not enough to say that I am going to vote for the UNC because my great grandmother passed down the tradition that the UNC shall reign forever, and it's not enough to say that. People, it's time that we open our eyes and start voting on the things that we want. I'm reading on the live somebody saying that why do we want to be a little America? Trinidad has its own unique destiny and purpose, and we are totally different to America, thanks be to God. Let's remain the special people that we are. And Sandra, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't want Trinidad and Tobago to be like another America. Do I want us to be right now contemplating, who we have to choose from between Trump and lesser Trump? That's what people are contemplating right now. Life in the States is not perfect as many people would like to point out or would like to believe. But what we are seeing in terms of progress, you want to take the best from everywhere. And there's no perfect society, there's no perfect economy. But you should always want to strive and aspire to be better than you are. And I'm not saying to be like any one particular country, but take the best policies, the best. You were going to say something.
This is also what I noticed very often in Trinidad. You always look to others, what they do, how they do. You compare yourself with America. You compare. At least you want to take over a lot from there. You want from the UK. Philip is quite often referring to Singapore, Dubai, and such places. Yes, but they have gone through a long time of development. You are not there right now. You could have been, yes, you could have even been better, yes. The unfortunate reality is these countries are there where they are right now, and you are where you are right now. So how is past COVID-19 looking for Trinidad? How is will you work on your independency? Let's start with food. Will you get food independent? Only building on KFC is not possible. Where is your local food? There's so much nice local food, bananas on the street, tomatoes on the street, and this and that. That's all what I did already. You can more or less live from what you can buy on the street. Why you do not start, for instance, there? And now you say we need. Let me bring one stupid example here. COVID-19 has taught us one thing over here. We have large fruit plantage farmers, whatever. There's a special time in the year, for instance, in our country for apples. And we need a lot of foreign workers because we Germans think we are too nice to harvest this asparagus. So people from Eastern Europe came in. Now, during COVID-19, these people were not allowed to travel. Wow, we Germans ourselves. And you know who did it? Students who would not to university. Teachers who couldn't go to school, applied to work on farms. Did that happen in Trinidad? I have heard your farmers had to throw away fruits because they couldn't bring them to the market. wow, people, what are you doing? You're destroying your food. You are killing yourself. Food independency farming is one of the first things you need to start with. And you don't need to have the latest development of machines. You told many times you planted your own small little, what was it, garlic or whatever, and the chicken picked it up and so on. Do that,
Yes, I
do
planted
that.
my garlic and those rogue
People
chickens
have to learn
adopted.
that. People have to learn that. Make it a project in universities. Bring these people into work to survive instead of on the breadline. Your farmers will be happy to have support.
Before we went to the break, we were talking about the young people and the fact that many of them, and I was making, I don't want to say the excuse, but I was giving the argument that many of them tend to want to put forward as to why they continue voting as they do or why they don't consider fighting for change. And I was pointing out the fact that many of them feel like this is how things are and it's always going to be. So they either get with the program, which is understanding that crime pays, whether you want to go into white collar criminality or you want to go into crime, so selling drugs, bringing in the guns, either way, or you just become one of those regular citizens fighting up your way up the ladder, hoping that you get that break that you get in, that some people are fortunate to get in life, but basically having to spend the majority of your life fighting to get to where you need to. Of course, this is if you want to do things the right way.
What you need to do is, well, this is a very serious topic. We're coming to your media, because as long as you tell your younger people, your younger generation, or the people at all, this is not blue, this is red, this is not green, this is black, they believe it. The more often you hear that it is blue instead of red or green instead of black, whatever way around, they believe it. The more often you tell it to them, they believe it. And then comes the typical Trini sentence, we like it like that. We like it like that. What a bullshit. There is a social responsibility of the media. And if this media doesn't exist in your country, and sorry, your media as such is not a real media, you have to look for other ways. You did that with your Facebook things here. This is great. I would love to see more people to share it. I have the feeling you have probably more supporters than you know already. I hope it will be enough, because you make a lot of noise. When I talk to my friend or my 2-3 friends I'm continuously talking to in Trinidad, I know that you have been in their discussions, in their talks already, and even if they say we don't agree with them, but we have heard about them. When I ask a bit more, and I how should I say, invite them to argue against you, it starts to become very difficult for them to argue against you, because they start with, it has always been like that. We always like it like that. And when you ask, you get the right answers. And this is what I hate on your media. They don't ask. They don't insist on answers. And if I do not get the answer which I want, which I need, I ask again. I know that microphones are muted then. Then you have to ask again, and then you have to make a big story in your news out of that.
I'm glad you raised that question about the media, Meinhof, because that is perhaps one of the biggest roadblocks and the biggest gatekeepers as it pertains to getting the right and the correct information out of people. And the fact that we here in the PEP have been able to use social media to kind of circumvent that, but even still not being able to do that 100%, because there is a percentage of the population that is not on social media. I mean, again, we've been finding ways, Satish and Pep Media, bringing the show to you is a show that, should we have had a morning program to be able to discuss these things and taking PEP out of it, just talking to the youth about wanting better for themselves, about being able to make informed decisions as it pertains to politics, and not just decisions based on what you were told or what you learned as a child growing up. This is information that we don't hear our traditional media talking about. I listen to, closest you'll get to that is Fazir Mohammed on his show. But I listen to him and I listen to all of these other talk show people. I listen to Rhoda Barrett on I-95. And it is, I don't even want to say it's bordering on propaganda as it pertains to, well, Rhoda Barrett in particular. But even on the HEMA show, I hear the issues being raised over and over, people calling, and I don't have water, my road's bad. And it seems to be almost a fluff and puff kind of show, because there's a discussion about us as Trinbagonians really finding a way forward. There's never really a discussion on why things may be as it is. We say and we know that we are in narco state. We have had that information in the public since the 1980s. What media house that you know of, mind of, in the time that you're here, in the time that you've taken to focus on and tune into the news here in Trinidad and Tobago, what media house have you ever heard ask the question, why is it that despite knowing Trinidad is a narco state, we have yet to bring anybody to justice on it? How is it that we are shipping cocaine to Norfolk, Virginia, and shipping cocaine to the United? How is it that all of this is happening, but there's nobody to be held accountable for it? Where is the media to ask questions like, why are we renting buildings to Faris Al-Wari's family, 1 and 3 Alexandra Place, empty buildings, money that can be used to feed taxpayers during these very difficult times, during the economic decline that we're experiencing as a country? Where is the media house? Where is the journalists? Where are the reporters to constantly be pressing the government and those who hold positions in this country? Where are they to ask these questions? We say that the media is a joke in Trinidad and Tobago, and for those that aren't a joke, they are just basically an extension of the government. They put out propaganda. They don't ask the questions. We were the ones in the PP who kept pushing the issue. Why is the vice president of Venezuela here? Why is the vice president of Venezuela here? Why did the vice president of Venezuela come here? Until finally, mainstream media picked up the story and ran with it. But then, even then, they're still not asking the tough questions that need to be asked. Many of them, and I remember when we had Fazir on the show, he was mentioning this fact that many of them are afraid to lose their jobs. And that is what we have here in this country. We don't have a media that is really independent of the government under which they are reporting on. Many of them, they're depending on these financiers who fund the government campaigns. They're depending on them to have a job in the morning, because should these financiers pull out and they lose all of their advertising, should the government decide, I no longer want to advertise with you, many of them will find themselves on the breadline. But we have to find or form some kind of distinction between media, finances, and the government, or else we would continue to have what we experience right now, which is just a puppy show version of media.
Well, is this story about your media, that they are, how should I say, not that they are controlled, let me say it that way. Is that internationally known? Do your neighbors, Barbados and all these countries in the Caribbean, do they know that? Do they not say anything about it? Do they not, well, in brackets, assist you by publishing the real truth and that it returns better?
I don't know. And one That is actually a good question, and I've wondered for a while. Sometimes it feels living in Trinidad and Tobago. Sometimes it feels like I'm living in a version of this country that only I and a few people, and this is, of course, me just pondering sometimes, especially when I see crazy things happening in this country that for some reason people aren't outraged over or doesn't make mainstream news or when the prime minister went and he rang the bell in on Wall Street. When that
Yes.
happened, no, listen, when that happened, for some people, that was a moment of national pride. I do not understand how
But
because it's
ringing a
so funny.
bell is a moment of
Yeah,
national
I don't
pride.
understand how because it's so ironic that the year that he did it is the year everything came crashing down on the stock exchange. So crazy, right? Look at what is happening right now in terms of the price on oil and gas. And I mean, it's maybe it's not fair to say he jinxed things, but it's just very timely and ironic. But anyway, for some people, that was a moment of national pride. For me, it was a moment of trying to understand, is the world or the rest of the world not seeing what is happening in Trinidad? Like, we here, those of us who are not blinded, those of us who are frustrated with the way things are, we are seeing a country, like you say, that is going downhill. When I see countries like the United States and you're hearing about who was it? There was somebody in England who praised Trinidad and Tobago for in the UK, sorry, for our response to coronavirus, and
At
I'm
the Oxford
thinking, isn't
University.
Oxford, yeah, and I'm thinking, but no, but there was an ambassador or somebody, a high commissioner who praised us, and I'm trying to understand. Is it that we're bribing these people to say these things? Is their experience or is their outlook on Trinidad and Tobago somehow different from what I as a citizen experience on a daily basis? When we get invited to CARICOM meetings and to United Nations meetings, when the Prime Minister sits down in these meetings, do the people look at him and wonder, yo, I can't believe what he's doing to Trinidad and Tobago, or is it not to the rest of the world, the outside population? Is everything hunky dory in Trinidad and Tobago? Many people have asked me, why doesn't the PEP go to Washington Post or to the UK Guardian and try to get them to understand what is really happening here in Trinidad and Tobago? And apart from me being so busy that I wouldn't even begin to have the time to go about doing that. Apart from that, I also wonder, isn't or aren't they as media houses and respectable media houses, is it that they're not aware of what is happening? Am I living in some crazy world where only I and the people in the PEP and the supporters of the PEP is understanding what is really happening? Because I don't get the sense that the world is in tune to what is really taking place here in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know if it's because we're good at putting on a facade, but at some point the cracks in that facade has to be showing. I mean, just with this backhanded way of us getting gas to Venezuela, people have to realize that things aren't sunshine and rainbows right here, you know?
You have a problem. These people are afraid of their own, excuse me, ass. They only want to save their own asses. Therefore, these old established people may not ask or so keen to ask the right questions. They may know the questions, but they are afraid about their jobs, which I can understand to a certain extent. Excuse me. But there are young people coming up. Let them do the job. Let them go out and ask the right question. I'm coming back to when this movement of the Greens over here started. Hey, let's even take more, whatever you think about it, more current things that happen. A young little girl from Sweden mixed up the whole world. why don't you have a young little girl in Trini that is mixing up whole Trinidad?
Would they pay attention to her? That's a question that I have to ask. Would they?
Did they pay attention to Greta Thunberg in the beginning? No, but now she made it. Everybody knows her, and there is a lot more awareness. And this, whether you think it's good or bad what she did, whether you agree with her or not, but she has the thinking in the world, and she has made things aware. Why are there not more people in Trinidad who are doing that? Are there people in Trinidad who are doing that?
But it goes back to that same issue. One of the reasons that Greta got all of that fame and publicity was because she had access to media that published her, that invited her for interviews, that gave her a platform on which she was able to build her whole environmental campaign. If we have, I don't want to say that we don't have that here in Trinidad, but we have a lot of young, brilliant minds here in young people who are fed up. Look at Natalia Moore from our youth arm. I look at some of the posts that she puts out. Tahira from the youth arm, Adrian Logie, Daniel Jackson, all of these young people. If they were given the right platform, tomorrow they would have thousands of other youths following them. They could revolutionize the way young people think internationally. Because like I say, they grow up thinking and believing that they are part of a system that will never change. And for me, and for people like you and me who are constantly fighting against an archaic system, for us that is not acceptable. But for young people who have been told one thing and then growing up they are not being shown another thing, I understand why many of them feel this way. And
They
yes,
all
our
have
growth
traveled.
here
Plenty of you young people travel abroad. And this is also what I noticed. When they arrive in foreign countries, as if they have shaken their head. They have forgotten what happened in Trinidad, and they are now immediately Americans, British, Europeans, or whatever. And when they go back, because they can follow law and order, they do this, they do that. They are like, in brackets, locals, not really, but they behave a bit like that. And when they come back, they immediately would switch again back to being a Trini. Hey, when I travel, I have always learned something from my trips. Perhaps not from the first one, but plenty of Trinis have traveled. So why not bringing a bit from that what they have learned abroad back into Trinidad?
But to what extent will that work though, Minov? And I ask that because me having traveled and gone abroad and come back, one of the first things that you experience when you come back home is that at least for the first 2 weeks, you experience the whole euphoria of I've traveled and I've seen what has happened abroad, and I want to come back and I want to bring that here and I want to do the same things that I did there over here. But then you come back and you fall back into a culture, into a system that doesn't work. The first thing you experience when you leave the airport is somebody giving you a bad drive. Eventually, the whole excitement and euphoria wanes, and you go back to life as it usually and is and was. And you yourself would want to be different. You would want to do things different. But when you have a majority of the population that is so set in its ways, that is so set in doing the wrong thing, how do you go about changing that? These things, it sounds nice to say that you want to bring back what you learned abroad, but you also need the support to have that done. When people say now, I'm not interested in politics, I think about myself 10 years ago and I want to slap them silly. I swear to God, I want to hold them and shake them until it hits them and until it hits their core being that everything that they experience is politics. The fact that they can't get jobs after this, the fact that many of them are worried about their gate funding, the fact that they're so stuck in a country that whether they go yellow, whether they go red, it's the same old nonsense. All of that is politics. The water that you don't have in your tap, the clothes that you have to buy that is so expensive, and you're wondering how is it $5 for that same dress in Forever 21, and when it comes here to Trinidad, it's $350. Guess what? All of that is politics, and people don't understand that. And trying to make that link is something that we here in the PB have been constantly trying to do, because I don't think it's enough to just come back with all of the ideas and solutions. You need to, it wouldn't go anywhere if the general mode of operation in the country is against everything that you are trying to implement.
Now the people have to understand that everybody is a master of his own fortune and of his own happiness, and he has to work for it. If it is politics, if it is his job, everybody has to understand everybody is himself, herself, responsible for it. It's not one common thing. If I want to achieve something, even if it is for the whole community, I have to work for it. And this is what people have to understand. So I think people just need to behave. It starts in very small little things. There is a funny thing. Always when people talk to me from Trinidad and say, let's talk tomorrow. Tomorrow at 4 or 5 or whatever. I'm always asking which time, Trini time or German time? Because Trini time is always 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, who knows, later. So just do what you say. If you say you do it, do it. If you don't do it, at least inform that you don't do it. If you don't have the time to call at 5, just give a short note. I will call at 7. Or sorry, I will call tomorrow. But do what you say. Why don't you do that? This starts with very small little things. When I worked in Trinidad and this Trini came over to Germany, he was amazed. The train is coming in time. I told him, when you want to reach the train, you have to be in time. We have time enough. We have time. The train will never be in time. He missed his train to the airport. He had to take a taxi, which cost him 500 euro. These were nearly 4,000 TD.
Wow.
And he was going mad because he missed the train, because he was 2 minutes late. I told him, hey, when we say it is 10:45, it is 10:45 and not 10:54 or whatever. And this, this is what I really don't get into my head. My friend,
Your video seems to be, mine of your video seems to have been frozen.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was saying your video seems to have stuck. I don't know if you want to take off your video camera.
I will reconnect.
You're reconnecting? Okay. Well, in the meantime, while Minov is reconnecting, just continuing that discussion that we are having, I agree with a lot of what he's saying. We as Trinbagonians really need to step up in terms of us and what we can do as citizens. Every little bit counts. We as citizens have to play our part, etc. But I still believe that a lot of this is rooted in a culture of failed systems, failed everything. When we say nothing works in this country, nothing works. And he asked earlier that question that people continuously ask of Trinbagonians: what is your culture? And apart from us saying carnival, if you had to be honest, our culture is being road hogs. We're very. One second.
Can you hear me again? Felicia, can you hear me
Sorry, a
there?
very huge truck was passing by me. I was talking about that culture issue, and I'm saying that part of the culture of Trinidad and Tobago. If you look at us, we are road hogs. We drive on the road. We're mean. We cuss each other. Our culture is we would go to licensing office and we would pay that extra money. We would pay the bribe rather than go and. There are many bad aspects of our culture, and if you look at some of the things that we do, you could say, yeah, that's a Trini. There are places, and aside from our accent, there are many things that are inherently Trinbagonian, and a lot of it has to do with very bad behaviors that we have as a society. So when you say we as people can implement very small changes, I agree with you, but I very much think that the whole system within Trinidad and Tobago, the whole everything about it is so broken, it's so corrupt. Like I have never sometimes like if I go to a ministry and I get through in less than half an hour, there's this weird sense of did I do everything correct? Did I miss out on something? Did I forget to do something? And it's a feeling of um basically you get confused because you're so accustomed with things not going right. You're so accustomed with having to hearing that you have to come back the next day. The first time I went to get my license, it was a what was supposed to be, in my opinion, a 2 hour process became a whole day process slash 2 day process because when I got to the end, finally, I was told that I had to come back the next day because the photo the machine to take out your photo was broken and there's only one machine. And this is what you get accustomed to in this country, and it infiltrates every single sector, every single layer. And there's a lot that we can do as individuals to change things, but then there's a lot that needs to happen from a systematic government level all the way down. And you see decisions, bad decisions that were made on top. You see it impacting what we do at the bottom as citizens. And in my opinion, a lot that needs to change. It's why there's a PP, because you understand that these things need to change in order to influence the good behaviors on the part of the citizens.
I agree. You have chances enough now. As I said, after COVID-19, how is your world looking? What is your new way? We are starting to reopen here. What is a new era? How is a new way of Trinidad? How is a new era of Trinidad? Where do you start? What are the suggestions for the future? Do you think it will not continue with oil and gas? We had that before. It will not continue in the tourism era. I think I mentioned that earlier in one of our talks before. Airlines are crashing, cruise ship industry is dreaming to open again. No, this will not happen in the next 2, 3 years. Yes, they will open again, but don't believe that they will all come to Trinidad. Here is we are promoting make holiday at home, so nobody will come to Tobago then. Which hey, come on! And then the dreamers. I read in one of your newspapers, what Virgin Atlantic is now probably closing the London Gatwick Hub, and they want to change to whatever to Manchester or whatever. And then one of your fantastic tourism experts said this is even a chance for us because Manchester should be more connected to Europe than London. God gracious, how stupid do I need to be to say such bullshit? Has he ever traveled to Manchester and tried to go from Manchester to anywhere in Europe? Has he ever done that? Probably never. I saw your people talking to German Condor Airline. Condor Airline was broken and nearly bankrupt because they were the part of of this. This Thomas Cook thing. Then the whole Trinidad or Tobago tourism was happy. They are taken over by another airline in Europe. Yes, they were supposed to be taken over, but because of COVID-19, they are not taken over. They went back from that decision. So now Condor is again suffering and probably saved by the German government again. Where do they travel next? Why don't you talk to these people now? Lufthansa, German airline, is talking business trips will probably decline. It will not be that anymore in the next 3 to 5 years what it was before 2020. So we will concentrate on tourism as well. Why you don't talk to these people? Instead, your people spoke to Norwegian. Norwegian is only flying one flight they did to the US and never anywhere else. Hey, people, where are you dreaming? What are you doing? Cruise ship industry is broken. Airline industry is broken. People will travel again, yes. Make a concept for you, perhaps your own Caribbean airline. This may be too costly, I don't know. But concentrate on other tourism areas. You have so much to offer. Why you don't do that? The individual tourist is what you need to have. The group tourism, forget that. Come on, the groups will not come in the next 5 years or in the next 3 years.
And again, having been here in Trinidad and seeing all the potential that we have here as, as a nation that is clearly wasting this potential. If you had the opportunity, would you come back and work with the PEP to get some of these things off of the ground? Because we have a lot of brilliant minds.
Otherwise, I would not talk to you here now. Immediately.
What's that?
Otherwise, I would not talk immediately. Otherwise, I would not talk to her, because I see the potential. I know there is the potential. I know you have fantastic things in mind. As said, you cannot invent the wheel again. It is invented already. You only need to learn how to handle the wheel. And with your policies, you can handle Trinidad. Not everything will happen overnight. I'm very sure about that. And it will be a hard fight and a hard work. I know that. Yes, immediately I would come back. Because, you know why? This island can be everywhere in this world, but the people are there. And the people are, I just wanted to say, look into the mirror, but I know the people are great. I got to know them. I have been invited to their homes. I have been 6 hours on the island of Tobago and was sitting in the middle of a family having dinner. Hey, I was just thinking, would I do this with a Trini coming to Germany, which I have never met before? You are much more open. Use your advantages. You only need to know where your advantages are.
And to counteract everything that I was saying earlier, yes, you just brought up a very interesting and very real point in the description of Trinbagonians. I was talking about all of our bad ways. We drive terribly, we cuss each other, but there's also those things that are inherently Trini, which, just like you say, we are kind people for the most part. I went to New York last year and I was here that New Yorkers are rude and mean, and I experienced it firsthand standing up by the bus stop, and the bus was late, which is something I've never experienced before, but the bus was late. I think there was one of the buses had actually broken down, and because of that they were trying to make up time with the schedule, and we were there waiting, me and another lady, and someone else walked over to the bus stop. And my Trini nature is when somebody enters a room or when I enter a room, I say good morning. And I said good morning to the person very audibly. They were staring straight at me in my face. And she looked at me and turned her head, and I was shocked. So I said it again. I said good morning. And she didn't answer me, and it threw me off, like all the way off. And I was like, whoa, I've never experienced this before. Everywhere I go in Trinidad, everywhere I go, people are polite.
Yes.
They're pleasant. They're very warm and welcoming. So I need to bring up all of these positive attributes of Trinbagonians. What you just described, they would welcome you into their homes. They may not have much, but they're willing to share. They are warm and I would say genuine people. And they have so much potential. So much potential as Trinbagonians. We have brilliant people in here. I listen to some of the people that Philip brings on to Plain Talk. I listen to some of the people who come on this pep talk show in the morning. And again, I think, if a program like this could be broadcasted nationally, there if we could reach and touch every single home in Trinidad and Tobago, I think that we would give people hope as to just how much or how many brilliant people we have, how much information there is, how many ideas there are for taking this country where it needs to be.
You may probably not like what I say now. You have, just before the show started, seen another side of me. I'm one of these terrible people who are smoking. But the most interesting talks which I had in Trinidad, I'm staying always, usually I'm booking my hotel and staying in the hotel. Besides this being invited into the house of my friends and so on, but usually I stay in hotels. And the most interesting talks I had in front of hotels. I usually, when I started, I stayed in this wonderful, nice big hotels. And after this 6th, 7th, 8th time, they already welcomed me, welcome home, something like that. And then I said, why do I always need to spend this hell of money only for sleeping in the night? So I started to go, should I say, to decrease my expectations. The last thing, I stayed in a small boutique hotel. I think it were 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 rooms, 7 rooms. And the owner lady, in the mornings, I was sitting on the road outside. In the morning at 6 o'clock, I was sitting on the curbside smoking my cigarette with a mug of coffee, which I made myself at 6 o'clock in the morning. Everybody passing by said hello, said good morning. There was a fitness thing down the road. They had the spinning wheels. They came out and said, hey, we always see you here. Come on, join us, and blah, and blah. You don't know how nice you are. You don't know how nice you are. Use this, tell this to the people, and then make something out of it. Use your capabilities. You have more to offer to the world than you know. There is only a small little group on the top, yeah, probably the top, financially, the top of your society and such things, who is stopping you to do that, who is hindering you to do that, who is telling you the obstacle here is so high you will never come across it. Don't believe that. And now I'm coming back to the sports people. If you don't have the goal to run across this obstacle, if you don't want to train for it, if you don't have the belief in yourself that you will achieve it, hey, you have so much nice sportsmen. They're making you so famous. The rest of you people can do the same, not in running, not in throwing, but perhaps in something else, in building a road, in repairing your bullshit water pipelines. This is crazy. You are what's talking about. We need to open up our country and everybody needs to clean his hands every 5 minutes or every 2 hours or whatever. How can you clean your hands without having water? You see,
Well
this is what I mean.
No, very well said. And the fact that we could focus on these positive aspects, I like that we were able to do that coming down to the end here, because a lot of the bad aspects of us as Trinbagonians is really reflective of just how many years of failure, well, just how failed we are. I think it is not really reflective of who we truly are. Who we truly are is what you just described there. What I described when I came home and experienced the warmth of the gas station attendant who offered to pump my gas coming out to the airport, the warmth of the doubles vendors when he asking you how much you want to, it's like, those are the things, those are the in terms of Trinbagonians, I think that's who we truly are. But because of where we live and how we have had to live, the bad aspects of us tend to shine up a little bit more. But there's a lot of us, there's plenty of us that, that is good. Good, there's good in all of us. That's what I'm trying to say. God, I'm really at loss to words. Sometimes I get really at loss to words sometimes. There's good in all of us. And we need to harness that. It's something that we need to harness. And when I say we need to harness, I don't think we've ever had that real opportunity. We've ever had a real government that was focused on harnessing all the good out of people. Divide and rule is how they manage to stay in power. If you empower people and you get them to know their rights and such, you would find that nobody would want to vote these political parties back into office. So we've intentionally kept them frustrated. We've intentionally kept them dumbed down. We've intentionally separated the population into those who can actually work and keep the country going, and then keeping those who are uneducated stuck in a system where they keep voting on race and who you look like and bacchanal and all of this. But because we've done that, I believe is why we are where we are, and changing that is a mammoth task, but it's one that it has to happen if we are supposed to raise Trinidad and Tobago to the level that we would like to have it raised to. You want to say something?
Yeah, this is coming back to the point. You have to have critical thinkers. How can you get critical thinkers? By asking them questions which they have to answer themselves. And I had enough students from universities on my job sites who should look for something and who should learn something. I always ask them questions. And I'm saying this again, when you go out and want to create critical thinkers, not from the children's age onward, because it usually has to start in schools, in kindergartens, and so on. But this time is not there right now. When you want to make the current adult population to critical thinkers, do this W game with them. I call it a W game. Serena in London laughed about it when I told it to her. A W game. When, why, where, who, what. When they answer you. You do not need to ask in full sentences. Just when they have said something, oh really? Why? When? Where? Who? What? Do these games and require answers. Require answers. Let them make them think. Only to tell them this is what you need to do, that is what you need to do is great. It's a start. Yes, because people need to be educated. I remember what is PEP, educating, empowering, blah, blah, and so on. But then you need only to take it over is one thing, and that they have done in the past already with red and yellow. Make them critical thinkers. When, where, why, what, and so on. They need to be able to answer that, and the people will start to think. I made all my people on my job sites start to think, hey, why are you doing that? When are you doing that? What are you doing there?
I think we've made full circle and come back, because a population that thinks, a population that can think critically, like I said, would never vote the way we've been voting. And it's no secret that that we've signed critical thinking in this country. It's not coincidence that 20% of the population or students coming out of out of primary school get prestige education, while the remaining 80% have to fight up to fall between middle and lower class education, because that education has been set up. We have just enough critical and bright thinkers in the country to keep the country running, and then just enough uneducated and misinformed people to keep voting these political parties back into office, to keep the system the way it is. And it's like a chicken and egg situation, and I use that analogy a lot on the show because you don't understand which one comes first. Is it that we have bad governments because people are voting them in, or is it that we are voting them in because we have bad government? I don't, not I don't know. The answers are there, but we as citizens, of course, need to be able to make better and informed decisions. We here in the PP, we're playing a part,
Felicia,
and
don't,
we're taking out
Felicia,
the time to do so. Mm-hmm.
excuse me, don't like to find an answer for the chicken or the egg. Do have the uncritical thinkers because of the government and blah and blah. This is too much backward. It is like it is. Finish. I'm sitting in the mud. Why do I think how I came into the mud? This will not bring me out of the mud. My only concentration should be I'm sitting in the mud, I'm sitting in the shit. You know, Jonathan, my friend, told me we Trinis are typical. If we have shit, we don't have a bucket. If we have a bucket, we don't have shit. And if we have a bucket and shit, we have holiday. So what I want to say with that is, don't think so much about what is if you are sitting in the shit, you don't have a bucket. Okay, how can I come out without a bucket? If I have a bucket and don't have shit, what can I do with a bucket? Throw it away? No, I can use it for something else. If I have everything together, come on, then I have holiday. Bullshit. I have never holiday.
I like your analogy, and like I say, we are out of time for the show this morning. We spoke a lot. We didn't take any calls this morning because we were having a very you know, ongoing and lively discussion between two of us. We are today's what? Thursday. Tomorrow we'll be back on the show with Hadassah, the co-chair of the Women's Arm. Yesterday we had Lima McLeod, who is the chair of the Women's Arm. Sorry, the other co-chair of the Women's Arm. Umainov, I would like to thank you for joining me this morning. Your insight on Trinidad and Tobago, particularly as someone who is not in Trinidad and Tobago, was very much appreciated. You didn't say anything that we didn't know, and you didn't say anything that we would not continue to reinforce, but you did bring it across in a way that I hope some people were able to grasp differently. Me saying the same thing, us in the PP saying the same thing every week can actually touch you differently if somebody says it in a different way. And I hope at least a few people were able to take away from what you were saying. The love that you have for this country, it comes through in everything that you're saying. You seem to be more frustrated than the very Trinbagonians here who are residing in the shit according to you. But hopefully for them, hopefully, like I said, your message and what you were saying does touch some of them and cause them to really think about where we are and where we would like to be. We're facing, like economists are saying, we're facing a crisis in terms of our main revenue stream. The energy and the petrochemical sector is suffering, and now there's no better time than now to really begin rethinking Trinidad and Tobago. We have to rethink this country. We have to really think outside. I'm reading articles, and I'm not even bringing this up on the show about whether or not we should cancel Carnival next year. And I'm thinking, whoa, our priorities are so skewed, so skewed. We're talking Carnival when we're not even sure right now. Carnival, which by the way loses money. The NCC was owing how much millions of dollars last year. A festival that is losing money amidst an economy that is on a steady decline. We really need to get our ducks in a row and start thinking about the future of this country. If not for you, for your children. We're having children in this country, and we're not sure what kind of country we are going to leave behind for them. If not for you, please, please, whether you're watching this live, whether you're going to watch it after, please think in terms of them. Minor, anything you want to say in closing?
There would be millions of things one could still say about the practical things, what is going on with the future of Trinidad and Tobago. I remember we spoke a bit yesterday what topics we could touch and we haven't touched. the actual things today. There was no need for it. I hope the people do understand a bit. Well, I like the people. I like people in this world. Trinis are fantastic people. You should just be aware that you are fantastic and use it. And don't let anybody, and even if it is your own fellowship citizens, tell you you are not worth to do this or that or expect this or that. You are worth to get it. Only because there are is one person out of 100 thinking different than this other 99 should tell it. I could use nice words, but I don't want to do that. Felicia, thank you very much. It was an honor. It was a pleasure. And I'm the crazy German. So maybe I can participate, contribute a bit more to your things. And I'm hoping that it goes into the right direction. And stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you, Meinhof, and thank you again for joining me on the program this morning. You're always a guest that I love to have on, and I hope people were edified by your message this morning, and at least, if not that they can sense the passion that you have for Trinidad and Tobago, and that translates into them wanting better for the country that they have to live in. Thank you for joining us this morning. Like I said, we will be back tomorrow, Friday. It's the end of the week, and it will be Friday the 8th of May. I invite you to come back and join us again tomorrow. Like I said, we will have Hadassah Charles McLeod joining us on the program tomorrow. Remember, always in this period of self-isolation and social distancing, let us stay together by staying apart.
No social distancing, only physical distancing.
Only physical distancing. We definitely here online, still streaming live in your home, on your television, on your cell phone, and we will